Is it morally acceptable to potentially burn your neighbor's house down because you think they might be stealing your cable TV and internet? This is a real question that someone asked in earnest on the internet in April of 2006. And unfortunately, this didn't stay a hypothetical question for long. This kind of inconvenience is pretty mundane, but it spawned a 92-page forum thread, electrical diagrams, and a potential felony. How far would you go if someone was making it difficult for you to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? Would you build the Sega-Killer? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Okay, that's enough Talking Heads references. What is the Sega-Killer? Well, this is a cautionary tale about property crime. It's also a story about almost killing yourself and others with dangerous electronics. But mostly it's a story about what happens when you take a very real problem to a website full of people who have solutions, but also absolutely no sense of restraint. All of this happened on a website called Something Awful. If you don't know it, the short version is that it's a dead gay comedy forum, and for a stretch of the early internet it was one of the most influential places online. The specific corner we care about is a subforum called General Bullshit, GBS for short. If you had a problem, a question, or a story that didn't belong anywhere else, it went to GBS. Which in practice meant that there was a whole forum full of insane nonsense. And in April of 2006, a poster named Pimp Solo showed up with a problem. Someone is stealing cable from me. For about a month, my cable internet has intermittently been disconnected, my on-demand channels haven't been working. It had been the most annoying thing to happen to me in my life. I called Bright House and Roadrunner so many times that I would answer the questions before they asked them. There have been so many technicians that have reset the modem, replaced my modems, my cable boxes, nothing ever worked. Finally, they sent like 4 cable guys, and one actually had the idea to check out the box in the backyard. He discovered that the people behind me were stealing cable, which overheated the amp as I understand it. I asked him what he was going to do about the situation. He said, "I disconnected it." You didn't call the cops or anything? No, I fixed it. Okay. Sure enough, I noticed I couldn't receive my Curb Your Enthusiasm and my internet was disconnected again. I went out to look only to find out that they had rigged it up again. I called Bright House and they said they would take care of it. It's been a week now and nothing's happened. Do I call the police? Do I hook up scat swap porn to the cable line? Do I simply cut their cable, which is blatantly strewn all over, tangles of wire running from the box to their house? Do I confront them nicely and tell them that they're screwing me over entirely and risk being shot? Their house is a real slum and I can't imagine them being amicable. Oh god, what is my solution? I want and need internet. So quick note for those under a certain age, I think I do have to explain this. In 2006, TV came out of a wire. We're a year too early for Netflix streaming. There was just a physical coaxial cable running from a box on the street into your house, into the back of your TV. That was cable, if you don't have satellite, but they're pretty much the same thing. You paid a company every month, and in exchange, that physical cable brought you your channels. Because it was a physical cable, it could be split. So if you found the cable feeding your neighbor's house, and you spliced your own line into it, their signal became your signal. Free television. The cable companies hated it. They estimated it was costing them billions of dollars a year. But that was their arbitrarily inflated numbers. In the real world, it's quiet, low-stakes kind of theft. You tapped a line, you got HBO, nobody really got hurt. Usually. When done poorly, you get this scenario, where the bad split job means that Pimp Solo is making a post at 20 past midnight complaining he can't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. The early advice splits 2 ways. Half the replies are pretty reasonable. Cut their line. Cut their lines, and if they do it again, call the cops and demand they pay half your bills for however long you've got it documented that they've been doing this. Another half is kind of deranged. Cut it, then dress as a ninja and hide in the bushes. When they come back to connect it again, go Dr. McNinja on their cheap asses. P.S. Film it. Disconnect it yourself, then attach a note to the cable box saying, "I have a Winchester hunting rifle. I may be home right now. I may be watching you. Your call." Those are the kind of responses you only really get from a certain kind of tough guy that's never really been outside. But then we do get a secret third kind of response. Something somehow even more deranged. Have you seen pictures of the ether killer? Do something similar with the coax they're running to your box. If you've never seen an ether killer, I have to make a disclaimer first. Do not make one of these. But just in case you decide that I'm not your dad, and you want to make one, here's what you need to not do. If you take a standard Ethernet cable, the kind that runs your internet directly into the computer, cut the end off of it, and in its place, solder on the prongs of a regular wall plug. You've now made a cable with a network connector on one end and 120 volts of household power on the other. That means you can now send the full unbridled force of your home's power grid into your computer if you want. Pretty cool, right? It's functionally a cursed object, kinda like the male-to-male extension cords you see pop up every once in a while around Christmas. Something that's built to horrify your engineering friends and then hang it up on the wall, because you would have to be out of your mind to ever actually plug it in. We're gonna see it plugged in, don't worry. But genuinely, I can't stress how much this is going to kill you and hurt while it's killing you if you fuck up. Oh god, that's genius. Does anyone know if it would just blow a little fuse, or do nothing? Isn't that basically how cable lines get amped anyway? So that's what we're dealing with. Let's take a look at what the neighbors have done to this man's cable connection. This is the situation, and they're never home during the day. I'd be happy to use their own outlet for this too. Double whammy? Also, this is the box. They actually have a cable going to both of these boxes, so two cables running to the house. One goes around that wooden fence for some reason. So I could hook up an extension cord that has two outlets on it, do the Ether-Killer to both cables, and use their own outlet. The boxes aren't locked. In the cylinder one, it has a cable that has two wires going to two connectors. In the box, the cable just hooks up to an outlet. I don't know a lot about this stuff. Someone does immediately suggest the trucker's option. Obviously, you have access to the line. Do you have a truck with a ball hitch? Tie the line to your truck's ball hitch and drive. That'll fuck up their day. Run your own line from your house into their line. Play any of the following movies on a loop so that this will be the only programming they can get. Class Act, VeggieTales, Don't Tell Her It's Me, Mac and Me. Edit. If you have a spare DVD player, just run the output to an RCA coax converter and then the coax output from that device all the way into their coax, tapping into your line. Slap a bunch of splitters on it so they can't figure out how to fix it for a while. Is the problem potentially the fear of making a permanent hillbilly enemy? If you've not cut the cable yet, I imagine these people must scare you or something. Personally, I would just go ahead and grab onto the cable and fucking tug on it until it ripped out whatever it was hooked up to. Then I would take as much of the cable as I could and throw it in the trash. Seriously though, the best option you have is to just yank on the cable and hopefully break the TV it's hooked up to. The answer to that one is, believe me, this is the first idea that came to mind, until I realized that there's no way these are rational people. I'm afraid of having permanent hillbilly enemy behind me. If I do the anonymous Ether-Killer, they won't know what the fuck. Before we move on, I feel like recording this online on an internet forum, even in 2006, might still end badly. Oh well, no way to know for sure. What we are sure about is the cable company has sent a tech around and someone is definitely 100% stealing cable. This is the inside of the other box. I just took a pic during the forums break. The stolen one is the obvious different colored one. Question though, it's not possible to steal phone, is it? Because he has both of these lines totally exposed and unprofessional, and I asked the cable guy if he was positive that they were stealing cable, and he assured me that they were. I agree though, it does appear to be telephone, I just wonder why that cable is exposed also. I'm soldering up a rig as we speak. The plan is to wear gloves, do it in the dark of night, hopefully tonight, and have it appear that I've just disconnected it, when in reality I will have plugged the Ether-Killer into his own outlet and already hooked it up to the cable, so when he goes to plug it in, zip! Whatever happens, happens. And more good news is that I generally know when he comes home, which is when he will definitely notice that his free cable is out. Hopefully I can get this on video is what I'm getting at, and maybe, just maybe, he gets shocked in the process without even getting to plug it in. This is the best plan ever, nothing can go wrong. I do feel the need to point out, that is a crime, but all of this has happened in less than 48 hours. If this were an 80s comedy, the correct hijink would be to disconnect the cable in the night, loop it around a sturdy telephone pole, tie it to the bumper of his own car. Then you just wait till morning, and when he drives off to work, you get to watch him drag his own television down the street. That'll show that old crusty Dean. And no, we're not going to do the funny one. We're going to do a potential felony and potential death. Again, I stress, don't make this. There's a non-zero chance that you will die, and every second of it will be horrifyingly painful. Okay, just finished the final touches on this modified Ether-Killer. Here it is in all its splendor. What we have here is a modified RF switch from a Sega Genesis. hence the name Sega-Killer. If you've not encountered an RF switch before, back in the 80s and 90s, your television didn't have a dedicated input for things like video game consoles. It had an antenna and a coax connector. That was it. Consoles like the Sega Genesis came with a small plastic box containing an RF switch. You screwed it into the back of your TV, plugged your Genesis into it, and once you flipped the switch, your TV thought the game console was a channel. It was the least threatening object in the house until 2 AM this coming Friday. Okay, when should I plant this? I see that their lights are on right now, so they're probably watching CMT right now. I don't want to disconnect it when they might notice, so I guess the thread will have to wait at least a few hours before I have an opportunity to hook it up. I think we're going to pause the clock and revive an old debate, one started by Something Awful forum user JK. I don't think it's the morally righteous, but the "this will not end well" goons that are raising issues. Cutting the cable is one thing, but rigging it to blow shit up is another. Basically, there's a few schools of thought here arguing in the forum thread. Is it morally acceptable to maybe burn someone's house down, or possibly electrocute them to death because they're occasionally disrupting your cable TV and the cable TV company is being lazy about it? Some goons, I can't believe we're 10 minutes in I haven't said this yet, goons are Something Awful users, not that kind of goon, fall on one side or the other of this debate. If you do what you're planning, you may be destroying an innocent person's televisions, VCRs, DVD players, and possibly their computer. Don't listen to the idiots egging you on in this thread, you'll end up regretting it. Others are exhibiting a bloodlust that only the early 2000s post-9/11 America can provide. Why would those asshole morally righteous goons complain? They're disrupting his service, his company won't do anything, therefore the cops won't. He's taking the matter into his own hands and there's not a problem with this. Fuck, if it was me that was getting cable stolen from, I'd just break all their windows. This man is as wise as any member of the Wu-Tang Clan. Let's see where Pimp Solo lands. I just laughed out loud at the notion of waking up to a smelly, charred corpse in my backyard. I hardly see this happening. Also, wouldn't you have to touch the outside and the little pin thing in the coaxial to even get a shock? I don't see him doing that, you all worry too much. There is one final push to keep him from potentially killing someone. Before this goes down, you must make sure that the plug is the right polarity. Even though the AC is not polarized with positive or negative, it is polarized hot and ground. All he has to do is to touch the hot wire while standing on the ground, and he will be seriously shocked and possibly killed. I don't recommend rigging the ether killer to go off while he's plugging it in. This could backfire significantly. Most coaxial cables have one of the wires, ground, on the outside, and if you rig it wrong, or if the socket was rigged wrong, he could be touching live AC just by touching the outside connector. He does not have to touch both. Touching just the hot and something metal in the ground, or even crouching in the grass would complete the circuit. I would just set up the ether killer, plug it in, unplug, and run. None of this booby trap business, it could be dangerous. Basically, the entire concept of having the neighbor plug it in himself is flawed. It demonstrates foul play and leaves open the possibility you'll be facing a premeditated murder charge. And that does seem to sway him. Some good points from everyone. I'm a little nervous about this guy electrocuting himself. New plan, I'll plug it in myself, then videotape his reaction when he goes outside to see what the hell happened. Let me clarify this for the naysayers. They have caused me months of pain and spending money on service that I didn't receive, which truly affected my ability to do research for college assignments and even log on to my online classes many times. I've had to call off work so I can be here when cable guys come over. I've had to drive to the cable office to return like 4 or 5 cable modems when I was instructed to over the phone, and exchange a cable box. This has been nothing but stressful. I hardly think that messing up his cable box and causing him a little bit of grief is the worst thing anyone's ever done. But put yourself in his shoes. If you were stealing cable, would you rather have your cable box and TV shorted out, or have me call the cops and possibly be arrested and who knows what? I'm letting this asshole off easy. Before we proceed though, a few concerns from other members of the forums. First, you honestly think the cops are going to research a person's illegal cable equipment getting fried by searching the net for clues so they can bust the person stopping the theft? Come the fuck on, you people aren't this stupid. Second, are you sure it wasn't your dumbass cable company's dumbass contractors who did this? I'm positive it isn't. We actually had our yard dug up to lay cable when we got the cable modem installed, and they did the entire neighborhood since they were installing optical lines, I believe. We've been absolutely assured that this is cable theft. The guy was totally honest and very candid about explaining everything he was doing. He checked the lines, allowed me to watch whatever device he was using, showed me the secret call screen that shows your IP and stuff on the cable box. He actually did make a phone call to find out about the wire from my house. There's no way he just made up some story to get me off his back. I'm about to squat up. Wish me luck. And then Pimp Solo went quiet. 35 minutes pass, and all these people want is an update from a grown man dressed head to toe in black, wearing leather gloves like O.J. Simpson, clutching a modified Sega Genesis accessory, waddling across a suburban street at 2 in the morning, fumbling with a stolen coaxial cable by feel because he can't risk a light outing him to his neighbor. Alright, pretty much flawless. I have a 4-minute 40 video of everything. It's 6 megs totally raw. Someone give me a place to upload. I don't want to give details just yet, the video will speak for itself. Okay, 6 megabytes was really big in 2006, okay?
Is that Paul Reiser?
No.
No, I think that's mad about you, dude.
Whatever. Let's go do it.
Alright, I'm going to the cable box. I just unplugged the cable. I'm gonna flip the switch. Oh shit! Let's go. Oh, fuck.
I'll take pictures of the aftermath in the morning. I can still smell the burning plastic. Pimp Solo, did you plug the cable back in so it looks undisturbed? Fuck, be right back. There's people back there with flashlights. So it turns out, when he unplugged their cable to hook the Sega-Killer up to it, he then proceeded to not put the cables back in place after doing the electroshock deed. I feel as long as I have the Sega whatever, I'm pretty much free of any real chance of getting caught. Although this is the aftermath of Sega-Killer. At this point, we're not actually sure about the full effects of the Sega-Killer. I mean, there was definitely smoke, but are you sure it worked? Or did the neighbors come out because their cable was unplugged? I assume it worked, but you never know. No, the smoke definitely came from the box on their side of the house. I didn't even notice the Sega-Killer was injured until a few minutes ago when I checked to make sure I didn't accidentally leave it out there. And now we need to wait for the morning. Even power-mad pseudo-electricians need their beauty sleep after all. But the morning eventually comes. Okay, so I just went outside to take pictures and nearly had a heart attack. But I soon realized this wasn't the Hicks house behind me. It just seemed really coincidental. I mean, there's no way this can be related. Wouldn't all of this have only been limited to the Hicks house? I can't even leave my house right now as fire trucks are blocking the street. I'll try and update with pictures of the cable box when things cool down, literally. And look, if you've accidentally set fire to someone's house due to this, then, well, that's possibly the funniest way this thread could have ended, but if you look at the runtime of the video, we've got a little way to go. Okay, I'm still at school now, but about to go home to check on things again. All I could think about during class was, you know how there are 2 cables? The cable one and the phone one? Is there some way those are related? And this is a long shot. Could the voltage, or whatever, travel back to that, and then to the house across the street? Anyway, if you look in the video behind the house, there is smoke. It was a pretty big fire from what I could tell, and I'll try and get pics ASAP. On a side note, the house across the street has been abandoned for months, so it's safe to say no one got hurt related to the Sega-Killer or not. To answer his concerns about the cable and phone lines, there's no way that phone and cable lines should cross at all, and no equipment inside the Hicks house connects to both systems, well, unless it's digital cable, and we know they aren't smart enough to rig that up. But what damage is there, if any? It looks like while I was at school, they boarded up the garage and semi-cleaned things up a bit. The big black spot in that pic looks to be some quirk with my camera, just for the record. One of my neighbors came by when I was taking pictures. I asked him what happened. He said the firefighters don't really know, but they don't suspect arson. I highly doubt this has anything to do with what I did, and if it does, then this was only a matter of time. I'm not even worried about it. So we've potentially set fire to the abandoned house across the street, not Hick neighbor's house. But goons are convinced the Sega-Killer worked. They've convinced that it somehow worked so well that it reached across the street, melting the cable box of something entirely unrelated. Naturally, this sends some of them into a panic frenzy. Stop taking pictures, stop posting more information that can help identify you, and for the love of God, ditch the Sega-Killer. Take it in your backpack, the whole Sega, and just get rid of it at a dumpster somewhere. Holy shit, I hope that's a coincidence and you don't go to jail for entertaining us. Jesus fucking Christ, dude, someone delete this thread and all traces of it before he's arrested and put in jail. Still, that's hysterical. It's just a shame that the wrong house was hit. Even though what you say had nothing to do with it, it's just an odd occurrence and one of those freak of nature type things. One upside of being on a forum where you have to pay real money to join and post is that some of the people who do that have real adult careers like electricians and engineers, the kind of person who knows what they're talking about when it comes to electrical fires. It doesn't look like the fires originated from either of those boxes anyway. The hallmark of an electrical fire is usually a weird radial scorching around the faulty object. Those two boxes look like they only suffered tertiary melting and the fire wasn't anywhere near them. That doesn't, however, rule out an electrical fire caused by some other wiring elsewhere in the house. If the OP is sure he saw smoke emanating from the Hicks box, then it seemed to me to be nearly impossible for that current to somehow travel across the street as well. This is especially true given the coax cable was unplugged from the box and the fact that the Sega-Killer was only plugged in for a few seconds. Thank you, Bridge Burner. Insane name for this kind of post. But if this is unrelated, which seems likely, what actually happened to the neighbor's house? The long-awaited update. This is what his cable box looks like. Pretty much nothing visibly wrong, although I can assure you that it was most certainly billowing smoke when the deed was done. I don't know what to say. Also, there is now a new cable running from the amp to what appears to be his back porch area. I think he's stealing cable again. If I cut the wire now, then it will be obvious it was a vandal who did the power surge thing. Right now he probably doesn't know what. And I guess that means it's time for round 2. The thread obviously is on board to escalate further. I love how we're all, oh fuck yeah, Friar's house, and then when the house across the street goes up, we're all like, oh snap, you're going to jail, and now he's in the clear, we're all like, oh fuck yeah, Friar's house again. Well, some are. Obviously, doing it again period is an exercise in pushing your luck. I'm telling you man, cut the damn cable or just call him out on it. I think we need to ignore that guy. We need to escalate. The forum, never satisfied, immediately designs a sequel weapon called the Atari Killer. First proposed by something awful user Ginch. I think this should be the next attempt. I suck at MS Paint, but I'm sure you get the idea. The larger image behind this thumbnail is long since dead, so I've done my best to recreate it from scratch and Procreate, and it's the device that will bring this story to its dramatic conclusion. I want revenge, climactic testosterone-filled revenge, blowing the fuse in his 15-inch TV. You know what? Fuck it. Fine. Atari Killer it is. Okay, this one took a little while, but it's soldered well and it's very sturdy. I've checked and rechecked. There's currently wire insulator between the two solder points, and it's wrapped in electrical tape. I want to give it another half hour before I go and do this. These people are night owls, so I'm sure if I can get in, disconnect, they're confused, banging on the TV, I flip the switch and run. Here goes nothing. So far, no commotion in the backyard. Success. And for a while, nothing happens. The thread slows down, people drift off, and then the thread's closed. You're still here? It's over. Go home. And then a few days later, Pimp Solo comes back with one more post. I got a lot of PMs asking me about a conclusion. I didn't really have a conclusion because nothing happened after that video. That was until today. I woke up this morning to the ring of my doorbell. I was thinking it was the lawn guy who does this every day, then they started knocking harder. It wasn't the lawn guy. He asked me to step outside, that he wanted to talk. I told him that I already knew what it was about. He told me that he had a binder of this entire thread, and a binder of other stuff on me that he gathered about me from the internet. I explained everything. He told me that someone tipped him off to the thread before I even did anything. That's how quick goon snitches can act. Warning to all. He said that it's possible for things like that to cause a fire, and to never ever try anything like that. He then asked me why I posted all this stuff, and the only answer I could muster was internet popularity. He didn't quite understand. We talked a little bit about something awful. No, he wasn't a goon. And a little bit about getting all that information he did about me, which was fairly easy apparently. He told me he informed my cable company about everything, and that they would be checking out the Hick stolen cable pretty soon. Then he told me that if I'm going to post anything about this conversation, to stress no copycats. I was caught really off guard, but just as I went back inside, I snapped this photo from my window to conclude this thread. The fire warden didn't find him from some clever detective work at the Hick neighbours' house. They didn't investigate a scene or trace a wire or do anything like that. He was tipped off. Someone in the audience, one of the few hundred people watching the show, quietly picked up the phone before Pimp Solo had done anything. If we're being honest, we've just spent 92 pages on the Something Awful forums taking notes about a criminal conspiracy. He documented a potential felony with photographs and a 4-minute and 40-second video in front of an audience that included at least one person willing to get in touch with the authorities. Apparently, the warden said he pressed print, it started coming out, and by the time it printed a few pages, the thread was 30 pages longer and he ended up cancelling the print. Pimp Solo signs off with one final post. Had I been responsible for burning the house down across the street, I feel it's any moral goon's obligation to at least give the law the evidence to decide whether I actually burnt a house down or not. Had what I'd done resulted in a house burning down, I'd like to think that I would have turned myself in. And I do want to point out that he's not saying he didn't burn a house down, he's saying that if he had, he'd like to think he'd have turned himself in. Just really stress that. Not innocence, just a strong belief in his own hypothetical integrity. It's weird, but then he logs off, and that's it. That's the end of the thread. Which kind of brings me to the thing that I talk about a lot when reading these old forum stories. They never end properly. There's no final act. There's no clean resolution where the villain gets what's coming and the hero learns something and the music swells. We don't get a satisfying denouement. There's just a fire warden that shows up, a cable company that gets told, and eventually a thief might be getting caught. Nobody's arrested, the fire's never explained. Pimp Solo posts a paragraph about the man he'd like to think he is, and then closes the thread again forever. I guess we always expect a third act, but it's unsatisfying in the way real life sometimes is. The neighbours, as far as anyone knows, never found out that a few hundred people watched and egged on a guy to try and burn their house down. The house having a fire across the street is never explained. The Sega-Killer, the little grey switch that started its life letting a child play Sonic, ended its life as a weapon. It might be sitting there in a drawer half melted, it might be in a dumpster. The forum built the Sega-Killer, the forum named it, the forum also called the fire cops on it, and then everyone went to bed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, the internet makes you stupid.
Walk into the bank with some shit in your pants, 'cause you had too many crystals. You somehow tried to dance. Walk up to the teller with an awkward grin on your face. Hand over the shitty check to him, and it's time to get paid. But he says he can't cash it, 'cause it's covered in shit. There's no way to sign it, and it's not even legible. No!